To order, this evening, we're going to have the following: Recreation Department, Public Events, Community Pool. Then we're going to move on to Municipal Court, the judges here, and the Court Administrator. At 5:30, we're going to have Engineering, Streets and Roads, Shade Tree, Equipment Repair, Snow Removal, Parks and Playgrounds, Water and Sewer Utility. Then I will go over just briefly, because they're very small budgets, the Ambulance Rescue Squad, CATV Committee, Environmental Committee, and Open Space Committee. Then we'll go through the capital improvements for the year, and we'll finish up with the fire department at 6:15. With that, we're going to move on to page 53, the celebration of public events. We have Marisa Landolfi, our recreation director, here this evening to answer any questions. But what we're going to do is we're going to start at the 290 account. You'll see that's the fireworks and the state permit for the fireworks every year. Every year we're trying to make it a little bit bigger and a little bit better. So this year we bumped up the budget from $11,000 to $12,000. The state permit fee is going to stay the same, so that's going to go from $11,427 to $12,427. The recreation supplies for the Christmas tree lighting, $1,000 last year. We're going to bump it up to $2,000. We're going to get on the company that lights our tree because we had some technical difficulty last year. We're not happy with that, so we're gonna be on him to make sure.
Mr. Tucci, I could always help with that if you'd like.
Okay, I know you have a little experience with bulbs.
Yeah, just a little bit.
About 30 or 40,000?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay. The 299.74 account, the allocation to Town Memorial Day Parade. We want to talk a little bit about that. Last year we budgeted $3,100. This year we're going to budget $2,000. With the safety aspects of running a parade along the streets and the dwindling participation in the actual parade, Marisa and I were talking, and maybe we should go to some kind of ceremony just down at Community Park rather than having a full parade. I think it would minimize the impacts because it's very tough in today's environment. As you see with our Christmas tree lighting, we have to barricade everything off, and with traffic and people walking down the street, it's very hard for the police department to protect the residents. God forbid, somebody gets out of control a little bit. So we were thinking about doing something a little bit different this year. I don't know what the governing body's feeling is on it, but I just want to throw it out here to see, to get some feedback from you, what direction you think you want to go in.
It's funny because I've seen the parade. We go every year.
Right.
We either walk in it for baseball or for wrestling or whatever it is. But you see the groups get together, and you do see the dwindling participation. And I know the route change, definitely impacted that a little
And
bit.
the other thing is Marisa brought to my attention is we're getting less and less participation from the volunteer groups in town.
Yeah, it's not
Correct me
even
if
the
I'm-
people that are watching the parade, it's the people participating in the parade as well. The sports teams, we might only get 2 teams from two organizations, not even all the sports organizations.
So that's why we're looking maybe to do something a little different, just to see how it goes. If it doesn't work, we'll go back to the original format, but I think
we
it's
spend most of the 3,100 on
The bands.
On what?
The bands,
the bands, the outside bands that we
the
have.
bands that come in and walk,
Oh, right. Okay.
the pipe
That's-
bands.
So I guess my only question is, if we did do something different, wouldn't you need to spend that similar amount of money? Let's just say hypothetically you did it at Community Park, hypothetically. Wouldn't you do something along those lines, maybe just a little bit more condensed?
The money was really going all towards the bands. I don't know if we were gonna, that's what I wanna talk to you all about, if we wanna have bands back, or if we wanted to spend this on, we were talking about possible
Yep.
barbecue, picnic, something like that,
We
and
were
spend the
talking
funds
about,
on that as well.
what's the root meaning of Memorial Day? It's an observance of, our lost fallen soldiers. And, it's not really a celebration day, it's an observance day. And I think that's where we need to get back to what the root meaning of Memorial Day is. We all go to parades and bands and everything, but it's really not a really festive holiday. It's a memorial observance of those people lost, And that's the reason why we were trying to possibly go toward a different direction. But, if the governing body feels that they want to keep the parade, we can do that also.
I'll give, my specific thought is I'm open to other ideas. Whatever we collectively agree on.
Right.
I think my only thought is that you should likely maintain the same
We
or
could do that.
similar budget to
Mhm.
do that, because, you know, after running multiple events here in the town for the downtown
That's
advisory
expensive.
committee, it is expensive, and I think if we ultimately agree to do something different, wherever that may be, I think you're gonna spend a similar amount of money,
Mm-hmm.
and I just don't wanna see you short. You know, if you did hire the band
Right.
at, again, at Community Park, that's gonna be something that you wanna do, because it's an important part of what we do in Cedar Grove.
Mhm.
That's my only thought, is that I'm open to ideas.
The governing body concur with that? Yeah.
But
Well,
that,
yeah, I'm open to ideas too. I guess, where'd you come up with the $2,000 you think you're gonna?
It was really just to
Based on
cover
history, right?
food and
Food
if
and
we
down at
got
the
one
barbecue,
band or,
you know.
Kind of like
yeah.
what we do over here for the Christmas tree lighting, similar type of cost involved with food.
Kinda,
Yeah, right?
it's the hot dog truck, or I've even gotten pricing from a company that comes and does the barbecue for you, so that's really just based on
This
that.
way we'll have an observance and then we'll have the barbecue, and the only thing, a little bit grander barbecue than we normally had, because we can use the money that we don't spend for the bands on the barbecue, that people can come and spend a day.
So on the flip side, my only counter to what you're saying is, if we could save money and you do it for $2,000, you can still do the same thing, I'm in favor of that, because $1,000 here, $1,000 there, it adds up at the end of the day. I know how you typically approach this budget, you try to save money wherever you can. If you have the
I'm
same
cheap.
type of, you know, listen,
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Listen, it impacts us all, every city at the table, so, I leave it in your discretion what you think from a monetary standpoint.
Well, at this point, I'll put the 3,100 back in, and then we'll see how we go. If we don't spend it, it'll lay there and roll back in, if you want to do that.
And then we could always change it.
We could always
next year.
change it. We have until, well, we didn't even introduce the budget. If we see that we have excess money and we're cutting in other areas, or if we see that we're running short and we need money, we'll cut it back, you know. But we'll bump it up to 3,100 for right now.
What about, and we can discuss this at a later date, but if we do go back to remember, and I know Councilman Tonello will remember this, like when I was growing up in town, we used to have huge picnics in town. We would
Right.
have the parade, and it would be Unico would have everybody would, it was a lot of fun.
And it ended at Community Park,
It
correct,
ended
the
at
parade?
Community
Right.
Park, and it was a big thing, because when I worked at the pool, and everybody would be running back and forth from the pool to the park, and it was so much fun, like maybe.
Well, I
we
think
could
that was
go
our,
back
that was our train of thought,
to
to have,
something like
to have
that.
a bigger picnic down at the park, rather than have the parade event, which is very hard for the police to cordon
it's
off.
such a far route.
It is.
If you wanted to get back to the park.
Right.
Which I think the park was great, people love the park.
Yeah.
You know, you got there and then people kinda, stayed together, nice community event, I love, you all know this, I love anytime we can get the community together for something. And I think without that part, I think attendance has dropped since we got rid of that part. Maybe we think about a new starting point for the parade and over there, just again, I thought,
But really,
They're odd
the
ideas.
memorial observance down at the park, we'll
Agreed.
have the ceremony right there,
Yeah,
you know, and
agreed.
It just seems like attendance has dwindled over the years, regardless of what route, we've changed the routes continuously.
And the biggest thing is the safety, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're in vehicles and you're on a roadway, it's hard. It's very hard safety-wise.
You're paying all this money to the outside organizations,
Correct.
just to have them come in here,
Mhm.
so.
All right, that's the way we'll move on that. And the last item on the 29928, the breast cancer awareness program, which gets bigger and better every year. I'm glad that we started that when we did, and I would love to continue that. All total, the celebration of public events budget goes from 18,527 to 20,527, and that's including adding the $1,100 back into that Memorial Day account. Moving on to the page 54, which is the Recreation Department budget. You'll see all the fees for the summer playground. Marisa adjusted some things because some of the descriptions in last year's budget weren't exactly descriptive of, the part-timers and seasonal people that we're hiring. So you'll see some description changes there. All total, you'll see the number for leaders and aides go up from 15,000 to 28,400, and you say, wow, why do we have that big increase? Well, minimum wage went up.
I was just gonna.
That's why across the board, you're gonna see, especially in the seasonal part-timers, minimum wage. You might have seen that in the library, we have a couple of part-timers there, that went up a little bit. So we have to adjust accordingly. I think it's $10.30.
It's 10:30, it's going from 8:85 to 10:30 this
10:30.
year.
it's incrementally, it's going up until it hits 15.
15. And you know, we are benefiting because we don't have to go right up to 15 like most businesses. The
Right.
municipal and seasonal
Municipal
Municipal
workers.
government,
Staggered
we have a
approach.
stagger because of governmental.
Right.
That's the
Okay.
way the legislation is written. That's why we don't jump right to 15.
So it's just a little bit every year until we get up to 15, and
Yeah.
it's going through like 2020.
Now, that's only on the seasonal people, like the part-timers that we hired down at DPW, they have to go right to 15.
Right.
So you'll see that in the DPW
They
budget.
follow the standard.
They found it the standard. There's different categories and different standards that you have to follow. It really, it's very hard to follow all the changes in the law all the time. Last year, we were scrambling because we couldn't figure out what the legislation actually meant. The wording was not real clear.
Was it starting January 1st, July 1st? Was
Right.
it $10? Was it $8.85? It was just a
But we
lot of.
got it figured out. We got a legal interpretation, and that's what we ran with.
Mr. Tucson, in terms of the budget.
Yeah.
With regard to minimum wage, I'm gonna ask a question, I just feel like I remember having this type of discussion at some point. How is the minimum wage as it gets up to $15 an hour? Isn't there a cap on what we can increase? Is it a 1% cap or something along those
Yes,
lines?
it is.
So how does that sort of play in with the increased wage and the 1% cap? Does that take away from there, or?
It does. But
Okay.
it eats that cap.
Okay.
It eats it out. So really, your margins are a lot smaller that you have to play with after you do the minimum wage. It's not outside the cap.
Okay.
There's certain items in the budget that are outside the cap, like your health benefits, things like that. Then there are certain things that are inside the cap, and you have to stay within.
Got it. Okay.
And that's why,
I think that's the
when
main
the budget
reason.
gets introduced, you'll see the cap calculation that Mr. Holm will supply you. It's 2 sheets, and it'll explain to you what's inside the cap, what's outside the cap, what the 2% cap amount is, and then you have to figure out. Now, the only thing that helps us is you're allowed to bank up to 3 years. And so when we don't meet the cap, we don't go up to the 2%, we're able to bank that excess dollar amount. So we have money like from 2 years ago that we carried forward. So, but again, we still don't exceed the 2% no matter what. But if we had to, we have that reserve. And what happens is after 3 years, you lose that third year and you move forward. It doesn't build after the 3 years.
Sorry, I don't think rest.
Okay. All right, moving on to the 0116, you'll see basically all the league fees, $12,500. Field supervisor for the hardcore hoops, $1,900. Softball, bocce league, all those good things. All total, the part-timers are going from $64,969 to $67,724. Additionally, part-timers and seasonal people get a 1% raise. That's all included, built in as part of the salary adjustment program in the budget. Overtime, $2,500, that's going to remain the same as last year. Moving on to the 220 account, travel expenses, $100. Anybody that needs travel expenses, we take out of there. 250 account, conference and dues. As you've seen this many times in other budgets, it's the registration for Marisa to the New Jersey Recreation Federation there, $375. Professional registration dues and the Atlantic City Convention, all total $625, same allocation as last year. Equipment and other supplies, this is just miscellaneous for everything that goes on in the Recreation Department. Electrical equipment, copying machine, miscellaneous repairs, porta-johns at the fields. You've seen we're going down slightly from $44.50 to $41,150. I think we reduced one porta-john, that's what
Well, the
happened.
Porta-Johns too, we found another company that was cheaper
Cheaper?
too, so it went down a little bit with
Okay.
that.
Maintenance and buildings, see the maintenance of the Morgan's Farm building, Lions Den and Morgan's Farm building. We painted Lions Den this past year. I think Rich Metesky was interested in having some group go in and utilize that building. Water fountain repairs, electrical repairs, bocce court maintenance, community park ball field clay, that's rejuvenating the fields, and Panther Park maintenance. All total, we're talking about $13,500, same as last year. Not otherwise classified, these are basically the activities: Halloween party, suburban girls and boys basketball, track and field, miscellaneous tournaments that the groups participate in, and miscellaneous sports officials that we pay. And then you have all the other programs, project graduation, softball umpires, Christmas tree lighting, entertainment. That budget's gone down slightly from 39,244 to 38,400. Clothing and uniforms, that's for John Fabrazzo, $480 for boots and gloves. Office paper, $1,000, that's staying the same. $380 recreation materials, you'll be happy to see the wrestling warm-ups are in there, $2,400. Just want to highlight that. Softballs, paint and chalk for lining the fields, tennis balls, Halloween candy, Christmas tree lighting supplies, $25,400. It's the same appropriation as last year. Community park turf maintenance, any repairs that need to be done to the field as an emergency, $2,400. Miscellaneous tools, $200. Recreation equipment and improvements, these are the playground games during the summer. The community park online registration, which, how is that working out?
Amazing.
Working out pretty good. People like registering online rather than have to come down here and wait in the line. It's working out pretty good. The Panther Park maintenance contract, that's for maintenance of the field. And windscreens, $12,300. That's up slightly from $10,800. All total, this budget's going from $235,907 to $238,018. Let's see. What is
If you have a question.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Sure.
So for some of these line items, is this the net cost after revenue? Because there's certain revenues that the rec department will collect from the organizations, or is it? How does
No,
that
no,
work?
this is, what happens, it works different. When we get revenue-generating programs, those revenue-generating programs go into revenue. And then what happens is, out of the revenue, everything goes into the general account revenue. And then what happens is you have to do appropriations, that's what you do in the budget. So it's not a net-net.
Okay.
This is the actual cost.
This is the actual
cost of the program.
Okay.
And then what happens is, if that program brings in additional dollars, that's excess that stays in the budget. If it meets it, we just utilize whatever money, so we take it from revenue. And that's what happens at the end of the budget process. We do the appropriations here, Bill will do the revenues, and whatever we roll over. But you cannot spend any revenue you have unless you have an appropriation in the budget. Even though we could have tons of money in revenue, but unless you appropriate it legally in the state of New Jersey, you cannot appropriate, you can't spend it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if this was a net dollar.
Yeah, that's not,
Okay.
it's
I
the
think I
actual.
actually had the same question last year.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think so. With wrestling that.
Okay, now we're gonna move on to community pool.
Can I, before we
Go
get,
ahead, sure.
before we move off there, I just have a question. So we have so many organizations in town. So we have soccer, softball, baseball, football. Each organization seems to be somewhat independent. Do you find any of that challenging, so I know, speaking for wrestling, it all rolls up to you. Super simple, right? If the wrestling team needs anything, they go to you. If there's anything, they go to you.
Right.
I feel like it's a little bit difficult with other organizations. Have you found that difficult? Is there any way to streamline it? Do you want to streamline it?
I would
I
absolutely
mean,
streamline it. I
it's
would.
a lot of questions bundled up, but I just feel like, we rarely get the opportunity to sit and ask you a question like that. And
Right.
I'm curious of what your thoughts are.
I would take on all those in a second, because I feel like if I had control over everything, there would be less problems. Of course, there would be people that would help, just like with wrestling, a director of wrestling. The only problem I really run into is if they're having a problem internally and they come to the recreation department seeking for an answer, whether it's coaching problems or field problems, or they don't like the way the organization's running. I really can't do anything for them, because I'm not.
They're private,
they're a
they're
pri-
private
they're a
organizations.
private
Cedar
parent
Grove Junior
organization.
Baseball, Cedar Grove Junior Softball, Cedar Grove Junior Football, they're all private organizations. They've been running in town for
Years.
Yeah.
more than 50 years probably. And, they're run independently, and, unless they voluntarily want to fold in
Right.
and we take over the programs, we're not going to be ones to sell them, you're going to be defunct and we're going to run a parallel program to you. That's not what we're about. We're about working together with the
Right,
groups
yeah.
and communities. And Maurice is right. The only problem we have is when there is internal issues within those organizations we don't have control over at that point. The only thing we have control over is they utilize our fields, and when they use our fields, they have to abide by our rules as far as ethics, as far as children's safety, as far as background checks and things of that nature. Those are the things that we can hold them to. But anybody that's willing to not want to run a program, please come and talk to us. We'd like to talk to you about it, and, you know, if we can take it over and do it successfully, we will.
Absolutely.
Moving right along to pool utility, we'll go to page 123. And you heard Bill Holman talk about it yesterday when he was talking about his bonding, and he was very happy about it. Pool utility is the only utility that probably works in a negative venue at this point. And, you know, what we're trying to do is we're trying to reduce the costs here. We keep closing the gap here. Last year, with the fee schedules and the amount of people that joined the pool, I think we did a pretty good job of closing the gap even further. Are we all the way closed? The answer is absolutely not. We are not. But again, we're one of the few communities that have been trying to run the pool self-sustaining. Every other community that I know subsidizes their pool. And that's,
transparent about it.
we're transparent about it. You know, we're telling the people exactly
Tell them the truth.
what it costs. So we just want to make that note before we move on. We're going to start with the 220 account, the travel account, $3,300. Telephone, basically that's for the Wi-Fi connection down the pool, which is, you know, a benefit that the town supplies. Anybody at the pool has town Wi-Fi. If you're even in the parking lot, you can use the Wi-Fi there. Heat, power, and light, $12,000. You say, wow, the pool runs in the summertime. How do we have heat, power, and light? Well, all winter, everything has to stay warm down there. Otherwise, we'll go back the following year, everything will be busted up. So, and then there is a lot of maintenance going on there. Chargebacks for water usage, $2,000. Printing and binding, $2,100 last year. It's up to $2,400. The membership badges went up from $1,950 to $2,250. Maintenance of buildings. These are the plumbing repairs, miscellaneous pool house, and the cleaning of the grills, $3,000, down slightly from $3,120. 290 account fees for professionalized services. It's the water testing samples, which are required by the state of New Jersey. The startup, winterization, and summerization of the pool, $3,200. All total, that line item is $4,400, which is the same as last year. 299 account, swim team entry fees, the chargeback for payroll, which is done here and the pool insurance, $3,400. Chemicals for the pools, chemicals are going up this year from $20,000 to $24,000. Lifeguard suits and jackets, $2,000, same as last year. Miscellaneous supplies, $100. Paint for the bathhouse and the pool, $5,000. Recreation and miscellaneous supplies, $400. They're all the same appropriations as last year. The safety materials and supplies, you know, the lifeguard training materials, CPO. We have 3 CPOs, certified pool operators. And there has to be a certified pool operator at the pool at all times when the pool is operating, so.
And now they just changed it, and we need an MPO, and John went and took the class
Mhm.
just recently, so they just keep changing the certifications that we need to have at the pool.
Let me tell you, these acronyms, CPO, MPO, it's hard to keep up with what they all mean, you know. But supplies for shrubs, and you always go down the pool always looks manicured. There's always nice plantings there. $1,200 appropriation for that. First aid supplies, $500, that's remaining the same. Miscellaneous tools and hardware, $350. The not otherwise classified, these are for the employees that get charged out of the pool utility. This is the family accident policy for people who go down the pool, group medical, long and short-term disability, other insurance, and workman's compensation. $25,693, up slightly from $25,437. General hardware and machinery, $1,850, self-explanatory what they are. Lawn furniture and umbrellas, just a tidbit of information. Maurice is changing the color scheme down at the pool. What are we,
Blue and
blue
white.
now? Blue and white this year, we're yellow and
Yellow and white.
white. We can't get the yellow anymore, so we're going to blue.
It's gonna look nice.
Go with very nice. As long as they're new and they're operational, that's all, and they're safe. 480 account, recreation equipment, new lane lines, you'll see that's a new line item this year, $3,453. Floats and ropes have to be replaced, so all total, that line item's going from $600 to $6,306. All total, this budget's going from $235,307 to $249,271. Anything you want to add?
No, that was, I think we just missed the front page with the lifeguards.
Oh, that's salaries. So
Okay, so it
So
didn't
we
look into that.
normally-
Okay,
that's done by ordinance.
right.
The governing body already approved that in the salary ordinance in July. So everything up on the top, you already approved. That's why when you see the budgets and we don't go with the salaries, because you already approved them in July when you did the salary ordinances. That's why you'll see across the heading, it'll say 2019 appropriation, what was expended out of the account, what the department request is, then you'll see what my recommendation is, then you'll see TCA. That's town council approval. So you'll only see town council approval on these budget sheets on the salary line item because you already approved those salaries in the 2019 budget. After this budget's approved, when you get the final documents, you'll see the TCA. That's what you, on the final adoption of the budget, that's what you approved. So that's what that last column means. That means you as a governing body approved it by ordinance on initial reading and adoption.
So, Mr. Tucci, the only question that I have on, looks like 370, which is page 125.
Right?
So we have 5,000 and then staying at 5,000, but we expended about 2,300.
Right.
What has been, is that 2,300 consistent?
No,
Or is it?
I'll tell you what happens. When we do the budget sheets go out in October, they come back in November. At that point, John Fabrazzo's still down to the bathhouse, he's still painting the building through the summer. This doesn't reflect the total expenditure because that's into January, February. So what you see here, even though a lot of times you won't see all the money totally expended, that's because certain line items are still expending through December, and it's not reflective here.
Got it. Okay, thank you, that helps explain that.
Mhm.
we
And again,
spent it.
the department heads are trying to estimate what they would have expended, but they don't know. In particular, public works, like salt season, snow season with chains and everything, you'll see a ton of money, you say, wow, these guys didn't spend anything. And then if you look at the report in January and February, you say, wow, these guys spent it all. Maybe they spent a little more. But, that's just the way, whatever season they're in, but the budget is done, the sheets are in by the end of November, so. And then swimming pool capital, this is what is proposed as far as capital improvements for the pool, the diving board service, the winter and adult kiddie pool and adult pool summerization, winterization, filter room upgrades. Filter room upgrades is an annual thing because the chlorines and the sodium chloride, it
Rust
it
everything.
rusts everything, eats everything up, so they're constantly, every year. It just corrodes. But we tried to reduce this a little bit, it was 27,000 last year, the capital budget's only 23,740 for this year. So again, we're trying to reduce it, because we keep these numbers down, that's gonna keep the fees down. You keep the revenue up, keep the appropriations down, that's how we're gonna close that gap. Maurice, you wanna add anything, or
No.
you're good?
I have a question.
Good, sure.
This is nothing, I know, because I sit in meetings with the committee, but for the public that's watching, how does our pool compare to other surrounding townships with regard to the amenities that we have and the services we provide, based upon your experience?
I have been to a lot of pools in this area, and I have to say that our pool is, I'm not just saying this, very, very well kept. We are under all state regulations, guidelines. The state comes out once a week and they come and test the water. We have, our staff that's there is amazing. So that we have our lifeguards trained, we have our management trained like they've never been before. So just people coming to the pool, they see the lifeguards doing their job, they see the lifeguards being trained even when the pool is open. We are constantly cleaning it, we're having them test the water every hour. the amenities we have the basketball court down at the bottom, we have the shaded hill up top, we have room where people can have parties on the top as well. It really is, and especially the bathrooms too, the cleanest pool that I've been to around this area, and I feel like everyone really does a good job.
The other thing we want to highlight is we employ many of the young people in this community down at the pool the summer months, whether it be lifeguards, maintenance, so on and so forth. These are summer jobs for these young folks, right in their backyard. You know, for the parents, it's a safe environment, and it puts a couple of dollars in their pocket, and we get a benefit of our own pool, and our own pool. So that's another big thing that we'd like to trumpet, that how many young folks that we employ here in town, from town, and we're proud of that.
And we even try with the concession, I know
Right.
that's not us, and it's always
We
a
ask them
rented
to hire,
business.
please
I
hire
do ask them
our
to
young
hire.
folks. Let's put them to work, you know, they could use a couple of dollars over the summer months. It helps the parents out. It's always a good environment when a youngster gets up and your child goes to work. It just teaches them a routine. So these are good work habits that we're proud of, that we're able to participate in as a community.
And I assume too, other towns like us, you know, we talked about this,
Mhm.
the attendance each year seems to be dwindling.
Every pool.
People who, you know, or residents who want to go, and over the years, we've been trying to be creative about
Mhm.
the pool fee schedule.
We have
How
it,
is
it's
that?
working. I
How's
feel
that
like
Panther, under the, I guess.
the Panther Pardon.
Yeah, how's that been working?
It's been great. I mean, we learned from the year before, so the
Right.
first year we did it, we had a small window where people can come in and they get a discount. The line was down, wrapped around the building out here, so the next year we talked in our meeting and we extended the hours, and so people can come in sporadically anytime between 1 and 8, and it just worked out better. So we're, trying to make commendations for the residents, and by giving them the sale as well. So, the rec board and yourself, we really sit and try to.
The other big major change I just want you to highlight is you changed the fee structure a little bit, and the guest fees.
Yes.
The guest fees, let's talk about that, how they were.
The
were up.
guest fees were getting up to $20 a person at one point a couple years ago. Our guest fees dropped more than half. We were up to
Last year.
I think
The year before. Year before.
We were up to 17,000 and they were 8,000, I think, that summer, where we put the guest fees up to 20. So I brought it to the rec advisory board to lower the fees, $10 an adult, $7 a kid. It's so much better than $20 a person. And people are bringing guests, and then we also implemented the guest books where you can buy a pack
You get a discount.
for $75, but I do tell people, if you're bringing all kids, no, it's not worth it. If you're going to bring a mix of adults or children, it's worth it to buy the book, and that's where most of our sales, and
But
also, and that's
our guest fees are up
they're
substantially
up,
this year.
back up to where they were, up to like the 18,000 range for the summer. So
But again, it has to be affordable. If a pool member is going to bring 3 outside strange kids, if they're paying $15 additional, that's $45 additional. Besides that, if they go to the pool and eat something, how much is a family going to endure? If you make it affordable, it's affordable to bring a friend.
Right.
and we try. I
you
don't
make
think
it up
the
that
pool
way.
rates actually have raised in the past 2 years for Cedar Grove residents at least. So
But, we tried other things. When you see they don't work, you adjust. And last year, we adjusted and it seemed to work. What the rec board recommended really came to fruition.
for sure.
Thank you for everything you did.
Thank
You did
you.
a great job.
Thank you.
Anybody have any other further questions?
Yes.
If not, thank you,
I want to
Marisa.
just say a couple things. I want to, with regard, while we're on the pool, I want to thank Councilman Tanella and the Rec Advisory Board and Marisa for working so hard on that pool, because I think it's so hard when you try to play with certain things. There's never the correct formula, but you have to keep adjusting. And I think, between yourself, Councilman Tanella, and the Rec Advisory Board, you're all being nimble, and I think that's what you need to be, and you're right at that right where you need to be. The other thing I want to say is I want to thank you for all your hard work. It's funny because these budget meetings always come in the middle of my busy season, so I get to see you and talk to you more than I get to talk to any other department head. But I don't want to focus on the sport that I oversee. I want to focus on some of the other programs. And one of the things that the council may not be aware of is a few months ago, I was approached by a resident who said, hey, I want to get a golf program set up for young kids. And I said, it's a great idea. You think you could do it? He had a great plan, great idea, really wanted to do it. And I said, you know what? Go speak with Marisa Landolfi, the rec department, and let's see if you can get some support for it. And that was, and within months, I mean, I remember that was in July, because I was heading down to on vacation. And I took the call while I was on the Parkway. And that was in July, and we have the first golf program implemented within a few months. And I got a picture of all the attendees. There's got to be about 20 young children in that
We
program.
actually have 30 all
30.
together, they might not be
So,
pictured,
you know,
but.
and I wanna, you know, that's the type of turnaround where you see an opportunity, you saw an opportunity to work with our residents to get another service to our community with regard to golf, and you made it happen. And I wanna thank you for that. My kids are not golfing, you don't wanna see me golf, I might need some of those lessons. But I wanna thank you, because that's the type of person that you are, and, you know, that's the type of person that I see.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
But again, those kind of programs, if they're new and they're sustainable, we'd be happy to entertain them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Now we're going to move on to page 16. We have Judge Brindisi and Terry Plavowit here, our court administrator.
Good evening, everyone.
You're good?
Here's a report of criminal and traffic activity for your information. Pass that out, thanks.
Mr. Tucci,
We're on page 16. The page I told you downtown advisory was on last night. Okay, we're going to start on the 230 account, telephone. Again, the court is another department where there's chargebacks, meaning the court runs on its own budget, and then it's charged back a portion of what the municipal building. So if we have a $100,000 bill for heat, power, and light, the court may be charged $4,400 of that $100,000 as a chargeback. There's certain departments that get chargebacks. The building department, municipal court, water and sewer utilities, because they don't run out of the general account. They have their own basic budgets. So that's why you see, in some accounts, you'll see telephone, and then in the 820 account later on, you'll see a list of all the departments that are telephone, because there's chargeback accounts by statute. That's the way it's set up. So the telephone lines, as the court, they have their own separate lines to the ATS-ACS system, so they're dedicated just for them. The budget is $4,400 there. The court postage, $1,325, same as last year. Printing and binding, their tickets, stationery, complaint forms, envelopes, ATS mailers, ACS warrants, and the receipt books, $2,920, up $15 from last year. Municipal court conference and dues, again, it's very important that professionals stay and understand by attending their league associations amongst their peers that they get additional training. These are the Essex County Municipal Court Association, New Jersey Municipal Court Association, Municipal Court Clerks Association, Magistrate Association membership dues, and the league conference, $1,110 for a membership in those organizations, up from $1,060. 261 account pays for the Konica copier, the Liberty Digital Recorder, and the infrared assisted listening. Assisted living. I got assisted living on my hand. Those are the devices in the court that somebody that's impaired puts on.
And that assisted living device is available for anyone, you know, for other, if there's a zoning board meeting, planning board meeting.
Right.
And they-
It's not only
that's
for
hearing impaired.
court, we use it for the other planning and zoning board meetings, somebody that needs the listening devices.
It's required for the court.
Yes.
It's required for the court for a hearing impaired.
Right.
didn't we recently upgrade that system?
Yeah, we didn't buy that too long ago.
Right?
Yeah.
Within the past 2 years or so.
Yes, that's true. I think I brought it to the governing body, you had to authorize
Yeah.
the purchase. 290, specialized services. Again, every year I gotta compliment the judge. You see acting judge fees. We never bring in an acting judge. Actually, we do bring in an acting judge. Judge either twists somebody else's arm to come, but most of the time, he comes back from vacation. He's on LBI vacationing, but he never misses a court date. He's always back here. And the other thing I have to add is, you'll always bring elephant ears and taffy back with you all the time. But I just wanted to point that out. Credit card fees, because the fines are able to be paid with credit card, you see the fees are $5,110.
Do we charge a surcharge on credit card?
Yeah,
Can't collect it from the customer. You have to eat it. Although if you call Trenton and pay a summons online in Trenton,
you pay the
you pay a
fee.
convenience fee.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I suggested a convenience fee for municipal courts that told me to shut up.
But everybody pays a fee around 2.95%
Mhm.
on the credit cards. That's just what it is.
So are they taking the fee on their surcharges that they're?
Yeah, I believe so. It's a convenience fee on all charges.
So they're taking a hit on that too. Like we're taking a hit on our summonses, but they're taking. a
Oh,
hit
no,
on
the
this.
surcharges don't get paid to the town.
But what if somebody puts it on the credit card? Then
We
you
take-
take the $250 surcharge, you give it right to the state, and we take the hit on the
We
surcharge.
take
still?
the hit on that. We take the hit on it.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
Life is not
Yeah,
fair.
well, I know,
Yeah.
but.
They
have to take
Better
credit
not
cards,
get
though.
paid.
So, that line item is $9,160. Books and publications, the line item is $738, up from $679. You'll see there's miscellaneous, very small municipal court matters publications, went up a couple of dollars. The drunk driving rule set went up a couple of dollars. So, that's just a slight increase. Office supplies, $795, that remained the same. Not otherwise classified, this is the group medical, group dental, long-term disability, pension, social security, workman's comp, the surety bond for the employees in the court, and the chargeback on the municipal audit, that's their portion that they pay, $68,794, up from $5,560. The office equipment, $115, that's for their CDR recorders. All total, this budget's going from $257,667 to $268,025. Judge, I know you want to go over your report on the traffic activity. I know you highlight it every year.
Yeah, you'll see that we went down, criminal activity's down about 8%, traffic activity's up about 8%. Overall, the revenue is down, and that's because the state keeps tinkering with the split. Generally, when there's a fine, 50% goes to the municipality, 25% goes to the state, 25% goes to the county. But they tinker with it. For example, the cell phone violations. It used to be $140, $50 went to the state, $50 went to the town, and 34 and change went to the county. Now they raised the fine to $200 as a minimum fine, but 50% of that $200 goes to the state. And the town gets the same $50.
Less because we're paying the.
You're paying this,
the
exactly.
credit card fee on
Yeah.
it.
Some of you people must be attorneys. But again, change in the law and how the law is applied, a lot of it affects, there's a lot of scrutiny on municipal court and municipal governments on, how they administer fines. And I think it has a dramatic effect on revenue, even though we don't run our court based on revenue generation, never have and never will. It's based on fairness, and I think this is one of the fairest judges out there. I mean, he's a judge not only here, but the assignment judge puts him all over the place. He's another guy that teaches the other judges. When the new judge comes on, they send him here for a little bit to learn under Judge Brindisi first. So I just want to thank you for the great job you do, and the great job you do, Terry. Our court is well-run. People from downtown come up here. They praise us all the time on how this court is run. So
Yeah, I can't praise the staff enough. They're kind of people, they're attentive people come away, they pay fines, they're not happy, but they walk away with a smile.
All we can do is treat you fair.
Yeah? Give them an opportunity to be heard.
Any other questions?
Thank you for everything that you do, Judge.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Your
Thanks.
longstanding commitment to Cedar Grove. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
And just remember, this judge sat where you sat.
I know. That's why I said longstanding commitment to Cedar Grove.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
I think I might see him on the
All right, now we're going to move on to the engineering budget. I have Alex Palumbo here and a host of DPW gentlemen. Okay, let's see, let's get to the right page. Page 63.
The page numbers are too small for everything.
Okay.
If you see her text messages,
Mhm.
you know, you can see it from over, you can read it from over there.
Yeah, I can't talk about people.
All right, we're going to start with the 240 account, printing and binding. This is a very small budget, $725. That's for street maps, tax map, updates. Those are the ones, those are the minor updates in the office. You'll see later on in the capital budget, we have to do a total tax map update. It have to be totally redone, not only for the engineering department, but for the tax assessor. It's required every so many years, we have to upgrade all the tax maps. And zoning maps, so that's $725 there. Conference and dues, it's gone down slightly from $1,375 to $1,175. The engineer seminars, we reduced that a little bit. Maintenance and other equipment, it's the radio repairs down the engineering department. SMS security system for that building, and the HVAC contract, $980. Carpet cleaning, it's just an annual cleaning once a year, $250. Clothing and uniforms, that's for the engineering aides down there, $630. Miscellaneous office supplies, $950. And the cleaning supplies for the building. All total, this budget is $11,295, down slightly from $11,317. You can handle shade tree or? Sure. Okay. Move on to page 66, which is the next line item. Years back, when we had the 2% budget cap implemented, we had to cut our budget drastically. One of the areas that we cut drastically was our tree trimming and replanting. And what's happening through the years since that happened, we've been trying to build it up little by little by little, because this was cut down to basically $1,000. And you'll see, every year, tree trimming, which is becoming more and more, we increase it. So this year, we're increasing the tree trimming from $20,000 to $22,000. In addition to this, you'll see in the capital budget, we put $40,000 more. So we're spending about $70,000 on tree trimming, tree removal, stump removal, so on and so forth. These are just with maintaining the street trees and then replanting some trees during the course of the year. We also have a tree escrow account. When people take trees down, they put money into the escrow account. And they have a choice of either replanting them back on their property or donating the money to the tree fund. The money that gets donated to the tree fund gets put back. We replant trees throughout the town. So sometimes people request a tree in front of their house. We take it out of that tree replanting fund that people donated back where trees were taken down and not replanted. And that's what supplements our tree program. That's why we have all those plaques on the wall designating us as Tree City for all those years, because we have a town arborist, we have a master plan, and we follow all the guidelines of Tree City. So go ahead.
Do we, in all that we put into the tree trimming and everything, do we consider the North Watershed property along Ridge Road where usually there's always trees that need to be trimmed over there, which I guess is now our responsibility?
Well, the North Watershed property is going to be a separate and distinct project outside of this budget.
Okay.
Only because right now, as a matter of fact, we just had a meeting this morning about this. The consultant has to finish up the plan. of going through and identifying where the trails are gonna be identified, where trees have to be taken down. And then we are getting a number of complaints. Ironically, the city of Newark owned it, we didn't hear anything as soon as we got it. But there are areas around the perimeter where it abuts residential houses where there are some trees that are leaning or growing toward. So what we're looking to do is we're gonna put a spec together separately, and we're looking to clean a path all the way around the perimeter of 20 feet and remove any dangerous trees. And what it'll do is it'll give us an access roadway all around the perimeter, and I think it'll alleviate some of the issues that we're having with some of the people complaining. We're gonna put out an RFP, we're gonna get a separate bid, and we're gonna fund that separately. And then that's besides the master plan that the consultant's preparing right now, and then we're gonna go in and prepare the trails and everything on the inside of the property. So that's the plan move. Go ahead, Mayor.
Mr. Tucci, you just mentioned clearing like a 20-foot path.
Around the
Is
perimeter.
that, so I just want to, in my mind, I'm thinking what Newark did at the reservoir.
No.
They cleared like, 20 feet of trees. You're talking about just cleaning up potentially hazardous trees.
Yeah.
Like falling, leaning.
Anything
You're not
that's
talking about
leaning,
making-
falling.
You're not talking about making a path, like a.
No, we gotta clear out whatever is in there, in that area. We're gonna go property by property and talk to the property owners to see who has a problem with the trees behind their property. And then we're gonna take them out, because we do have a number of complaints right now, and they are grown, because what happens, they lean toward the sun most of the time. And then what happens is, it's hard to get in to get those, because there's trees growing behind them. So,
These are coming in along the backyards of the residences on Lakewood and coming around, so there are a few that have complained of dead trees or trees leaning close to the yard, so.
but it's not gonna
Hard
be a
to get to.
swath like the city of
Yeah,
Newark,
my
because
only
that
concern
they
is
may
just
be.
that swath that the city did, I mean, it looks
Mhm.
terrible, but it's just not environmentally friendly what they
Right.
did. So that's not our intention, is that?
We're not gonna clear cut everything. We're gonna identify what has to come down and what's not gonna come down. What we don't wanna do is go in and take spotty trees down, and then people complain later on that, oh, you missed one here, you missed one there. So that's why we're gonna go and we're gonna have a plan drawn up, and then we're gonna identify, and we're gonna have to talk to the residents behind their houses, who wants to keep the trees and who doesn't wanna keep the trees. Because I think communication's gonna be the key here as to what, because you just can't blanketly say we're gonna take everything down, because some people may not want that to happen. Some people may. I know there are people along in your neighborhood where it backs up, that there's a lot of complaints that they want the trees down. But that's the way we're gonna approach it. We're gonna put a bid out for it, and then we're gonna have consultation with the public in that area, people that abut the property, and see what their input is, and we'll take it from there. This way, we'll have a number as to, what it's gonna cost us. Unless we put out the RFP, we're never gonna know exactly what the cost is gonna be. And again, if the only way to do it is to clear cut it, we may have to go back and replant trees back in to reestablish.
Guess we'll see what the.
We'll see how it goes. All right. Anything else?
No, sorry.
Okay. All right, so that budget's $29,500. That includes, the spring and fall replanting and the Arbor Day ceremony. So all total, that budget's going from $27,500 to $29,500. Streets and roads, Jerry Vidiello.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody know Jerry Vidiello, he needs no introduction. If you've seen your street plowed or anything, he's the guy that was responsible for that. We talked earlier about the minimum wage. If you look at the 10111 part-timers, you'll see summer worker, $15 an hour. That's where, in this category, we had to go right to the $15. You couldn't go to the 1030 like the recreation department. It's a different category. 250 account conference and dues, and Jerry goes for league registration in Atlantic City. 290 account storm drain repair and catch basin repairs, $5,300, the same appropriation as last year. Streets and roads This is clothing and uniform for the employees down there. This is a contractual item, rain boots, safety boots, breathing apparatus, winter jackets. 330 account, books and publications. This is POSHA publications and the CDL license renewals. As we talked about last night, we pay for the license renewals of the employees down there. And there may be some classification changes based on our negotiations with them in that area. 361 account, general machine parts. This is the machinery parts for the street sweeper. Basically, Pete takes it out of his general operating budget, so that's why there's no appropriation there. The 370 account, a hot mix. This is for pothole repair, bituminous zero mix, road stone, road paint, lumber, concrete casting, street signs fittings, $9,500. That only going up $100 from last year. First aid, safety supplies, and gas storage containers, $50. Miscellaneous hand tools, $2,500, same appropriation. Propane refills, $300. Small equipment repair and machinery, $1,010. The appropriation last year was $500. You'll see two items in there, hot water pressure washer and an asphalt compactor. You'll see Jerry requested that money and I put 0 in for it. You say, wow, why are you being so hard on Jerry? Well, what we're doing is, we had some money, miscellaneous money left over in last year's budget where we're allowing him just to go ahead and buy it, so we didn't need to appropriate more money for it this year. So that's the reason why, don't get nervous, Jerry. All total, this budget's gone from $312,972 to $313,842. You know, it's pretty hard to run a road department, only go up like $1,000, but, you know, these guys keep everything lean and everything still gets done. So it's a testament to everything and all the time and effort that gets put in here. And now we're gonna go to page 70, which is the equipment repair and maintenance. I think that's Mr. DiGeronimo, you wanna come up here?
Before
Go
you
ahead.
go, Mr. Vidal, I just want to echo what Mr. Tucci said. I was looking at that number and it's jumped out of me. You know, it's less than $1,000 of an increase in the job that you guys do year in and year out. I don't know if you can get better at what you're doing. You do such a good job. I see what you do each year, especially around this time of year in the wintertime. I mean, the way you guys maintain our roads in the wintertime with regard to snow and ice that's on the road, it's second to none. I mean,
Thank you,
when
appreciate
storms
it.
come in here, I know from at least my experience, I don't get any complaints. All I do is I'll get calls or texts from residents saying, what a great job our town has done, thinking that we're the ones doing it, but you guys make us look so good. And I just
Yeah,
wanna
that's
say
great.
Thank you.
Yeah, we stay on top of it.
Just
you
to
know.
highlight that, we had a substantial rainstorm this past Saturday. These guys, all of them, were out cleaning basins before the storm because Mike Brasso and Alex, they have a weather service. They get weather for just Cedar Grove, general area, what's gonna happen here before it happens. So they have a list of hot spots that Jerry highlights that get cleaned. The top of basins, all the outfall structures get cleaned before the storm. They're out during the storm, because they were out Saturday, because I talked to Jerry. He was on Pompton Avenue, he was on Lindsley Road. And then after the storm, when all the debris builds up on it, they're out there cleaning it after. So, again, preventive maintenance, maintenance during the storm, and maintenance after the storm. That's why things are cut down to a minimum. I'm not saying that nothing ever happens here, but we try to minimize it, preventive maintenance, and, you know, these are the things these guys should be patted on the back for.
Yeah, and I'll just echo what Councilman Tonella said. I mean, you know, we get, I can tell you this, since I've been sitting here, we've got nothing but compliments on the work that you all do.
That's great.
I've personally never heard one complaint. And I see those prevention efforts. I mean, I saw you at Violante's the other day, and we were talking about some of the things that
Yeah.
you're doing to make the roads safe.
Right.
And we appreciate, you know, the foresight that you have to do that, and all the hard work that you put in.
You're welcome, thank you.
Okay. Peter, you're up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're a hard act to follow, Jerry.
Everybody know Peter DiGeronimo? He's the head of our fleet maintenance. He's the guy that keeps everything going. I'll tell you a little story about Peter, probably told you this last year, but I'll tell you again. We stole him from Northeast Equipment. He used to work there doing small engine repair,
It's a long time ago.
and it was a long time ago, because he's here a long time. But, I mean, you want to talk about talented people. Pete can fix anything. Some of our trucks, you know, the bodies are good. The bodies are bad, and the rest of the frame and everything else is good. Pete was taking the bodies off, sandblasting them, repainting them, so that we could get more years of life out of them. But, you know, we try to rotate whatever we could out, but if it's good, he salvages it, we get a few more years out of it, and that's why, you know, most of our equipment, when you see our auctions, people come from all over to buy our equipment and say, what's so special about our equipment? It's well maintained. Even after our usable life is done, people still want to use it. But again, that's Pete's hard work and effort. Let's move on to the 261 account, maintenance of other equipment, basically self-explanatory. Fire extinguisher, clock maintenance, miscellaneous repairs, smoke detector system, and the SMS security system, $3,850. You'll see, this budget remained exactly the same. Peter didn't raise anything here. Overhead door repairs and maintenance of other items, $1,075. Fees for professionalized services, cloud-based fuel maintenance system, life hazard use regulation fees. These are fees that we pay to the state of New Jersey. Computer-supported EV station, $3,880. Welding gas cylinders, $225 is the same. Clothing and safety contractual for uniform, shoes, and those items, $630. Technical publications and manuals, $75. Building supplies, vehicle equipment and paint, $250. Janitorial supplies and materials, $335. General hardware and minor tools, safety equipment, welding, $600. All total, this budget is $92,085, which is exactly the same as last year. You know, it's hard to keep a fleet running on these kind of dollars, but these guys do it. But again,
Savings, you know, we spend $92,000 on this, but the overall savings that
Right.
we have by having you working on, you know, our fleet is probably triple what we spend.
and again,
That's right.
the good part about it is Pete is able to identify a piece of equipment that is on the verge of going bad. So before we start dumping a lot of dollars in, he says, you know, I think we should get rid of this piece. Or he'll identify, you know, this piece has a few more years of life in it, let's keep it, it's worth to invest it. And that's the expertise that you need with fleet maintenance. You have to know when to, it's like playing cards. You gotta know when to get rid of it and when to keep it.
And it's just that much of a gamble too sometimes.
Anybody have any questions of Peter?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we're gonna move on to, Jerry, you wanna come back, about snow removal?
Sure.
We're gonna move on to page 73. This is probably one of the most important budgets in our community. You'll see overtime is the overtime that is paid to the employees when they do snow plowing. You see we had $84,897 appropriated last year. We only spent $75,082, and because of what's anticipated as far as percentage increase, we are appropriating $87,444. Private contractors, the way the town is snow plowing and salting is done, from Bradford Avenue North is done basically by DPW. Anything from Bradford South, you hire outside contractor,
outside
which
contractor.
is Sanzari has gotten the contract, so they do that portion of town. The outside contractor is paid by that private contractor line item there. So again, we don't have enough manpower and equipment to do the whole town, so we hire a subcontractor, and he does that piece. That's what that's for. Meal reimbursement is for the meals for the guys, because based on the contract, they're allowed after so many hours to have meals, whether it be breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Vehicle parts and accessories, $3,000. That's for the chains, the snowplow repairs that Peter takes care of during the storm event. The chains break, they bring it back down. he fixed it right there, and that truck is back out. Spreader accessories, that's the spreaders on the back of the trucks, $4,500. The big item in the budget normally is salt, $95,952. You'll see we buy our salt, Mr. DeVico talked about cooperative purchasing. We buy our salt through cooperative purchasing through the county. Because when they buy in big bulks, they buy for mainly all the towns in Essex County. That's why our salt is $59.97. If you were to go on the market, it'd be much, much more expensive if we were to buy it individually or if we were to buy it through a different vendor. So all total, this budget is $267,199 last year. It's only going up slightly to $269,746. And that's what we pay for snow plowing and salting during the season. Now, just so everybody understands, snow event probably costs us less than an ice event. Ice event, you're using salt consistently, normally takes about 100 tons of salt for the town. So our salt dome holds about 450 tons?
Yeah, 350.
350, 400, that's up to the top. Most of the time you go down there, whenever we have an event, we have a dome full of salt, we probably use about quarter to a half. Jerry already has the order in for more salt to come. You'll very seldom catch us without salt. As a matter of fact, we're probably loaning salt all over.
Yeah.
We give salt to the Board of Education.
Yeah,
We supply
every year.
them every year, so we're assisting the board where we can. They do the drop-off zones in front of the schools. Whenever there's a snow event, you have a delayed opening, you'll see these guys out there with the equipment clearing off everything in front of those, taking that snow away, south end, north end school. So these are things that are done that sometimes a lot of people don't realize that gets done here. Anybody have any questions about these snow and salt removal budget?
No, but I feel like every time we talk about the snow and salt, we say, it's pretty mild so far, and then we have, 7 storms after this meeting, so let's just hope history doesn't repeat
Well, if
itself.
everybody
So,
remembers, December and January were quite mild last year.
I-
We had a brutal February and March.
That's my point, right? Every time we have this meeting. that's where we
I
have
hope
it.
not.
So-
And then Jerry will do page 73, we'll do parks and playgrounds, we'll do their budget right now. This is a rather mild budget also, the 250 account, pesticide license and updates, that's for our licensed applicator. SMS security, that's the security on the building. Each of the buildings has its own security system through SMS security. Chemicals and gases, herbicides and pesticides. Just as a note, we very seldom use pesticides and herbicides, only when it's an emergent situation. And I'll give you what one of those emergent situations were. Because we use all natural, like in Community Park, we will use all natural methods to keep weed and grass to minimum. On the library lawn, there was a bee's nest, and they were having an outside program, and one of the youngsters stepped on the bee's nest, and we had to take care of that immediately. That's when we use a pesticide to kill the nest right away to make sure. Otherwise, when there's children or anybody, there's a danger of the chemicals. We do not use them in all cases possible, only in emergent situations. And that's the only reason why this money's here. Otherwise, we would put 0 in for herbicides and pesticides. But we just want the public to know that we're looking out for your health and your safety also. These are our children that are going to be out there playing also. Clothing and uniform, as I said a number of times, that's a contractual item for uniform, safety shoes, gloves, and winter coats. Lawnmower and miscellaneous repairs, $2,000, same as last year. Building supplies and materials, clay for ball fields down at Community Park. Benches, wave safety wood chips in the playground areas, the fall zones for children. There's special safety wood chips that you have to buy that have to comply with OSHA requirements. And quarry process for the walking paths. We get complaints all the time. The walking path off of Bowden Road, after a rainstorm, always gets washed out. These guys have to go in and put the quarry process in to reestablish it. And $7,600. Garden, parks, and supplies, $4,900. It's pretty self-explanatory. Townwide plantings, grass seed, fertilizer, and topsoil. Miscellaneous hardware and tools, $700. Holiday decorations, pretty self-explanatory, $3,800. All total, this budget is $210,742 last year. It's going up to $211,156 this year. Again, this is why Cedar Grove is an attractive town for people to come and buy a house, because the budget is low and it keeps the taxes down, and low taxes are attractive to people buying houses. I mean, believe it or not, I'm in the market right now. The stock in town is very low. It's hard to find a house. We're getting close though. Jerry, you have anything you want to add about this budget?
No, that's it.
Anybody have any questions at this point?
Thanks for your time.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Now we're going to go to water utility. We have Michael Grasso here.
Mr. Tucci, before we move on to water utility, a question. You were talking about, I saw here too, the street light, can you see, is that a new line item?
No, I'm going to talk about that later on because that's in the 820 account with all our utilities in the back.
Thank you.
All right?
Hello, everyone. How
All
are
right.
you?
Everybody know Michael Grasso? Michael, I'm very proud of Michael. He's homegrown. He started here as a maintenance worker. And Michael right now is our licensed water operator for this township. He's the licensed sewer operator. Everything that happens regarding water and sewer operate off of his license. He's responsible for everybody's potable water, every time you flush the toilet. Everything that goes on in this system is on his license. Traditionally, Cedar Grove used to just pay an outside consulting firm to be our licensed operator. Michael went to school while he worked here, went through all the classes, passed all the tests, and now he is the guy.
That's great.
All right, we're going to start with page 96. $230 account, telephone, administrative lines, $13,500. It's the same appropriation as last year. We have water pump stations throughout the town, and that's how they signal back through telephone lines and microwave lines. We're trying to eliminate the telephone lines and go through a different system now, but unfortunately, we're still stuck with what we have. Hopefully, when we change our communication system, we'll be changing a lot of that stuff out in the future. Heat, power, and light, this is the power to power those stations, whether it be Montclair Avenue, Vincent Road, Clubway Water Tank, Pompton Avenue, Eileen Drive Water Tank, Francisco Avenue Pump Station, Commerce Road, Patton Terrace, Fairview Avenue. So the heat, power, and light for this year will be $167,680. It's down a little bit from $168,740. Michael trimmed the Francisco Avenue Pump Station. Again, you'll see a lot more money in there than it's actually spent, but that fluctuates with the variation of water usage. If we get a real hot summer, you'll see that number of power go up because there'll be a lot more power used. When we use less water, you'll see that number will go down.
Mr. Tucci,
Sure.
just, looking at these different, this may be a silly question, but I see, large gaps in, what we spend on each facility, such as the Francisco Pump Station 75
Right.
versus Vincent Road number 2 is 2,200.
Right.
Is it based on size or?
Well,
what-
Francisco Avenue is where our big feed comes in from North Jersey. That's where most of our water, that's on most of the time. The other stations, some come in from Passaic Valley. We take water from a couple of different sources. But that's where the main pumps and motors are at Francisco. If you want to,
Yeah, some of these are just like interconnections, so.
smaller.
There's just a
Okay.
light bulb or a sub pump inside. So
Got
that's
it.
the difference between some of the locations.
Okay.
But
got it.
Francisco Avenue is where our main feed is.
The main
That's where
homeowners.
most of everything's coming through. As a matter of fact, all that equipment was rebuilt there, pumps and motors in there, so everything is up to date and up to speed. As a matter of fact, if you want to go in a little further, the water tanks were all rehabilitated. I think you just finished VFW.
Yeah, we finished our last one.
Last one, so everything, every so many years you have to drain the tanks, have them sandblasted, have them repainted, so that the potable water is of high water quality. And we just completed,
Yeah.
all the tanks. So we're in pretty good shape moving forward as far as potable water is concerned. Moving on to the 232 account, water and sewer. This is where you'll see a little bit of an increase. Reservoir Ridge. Reservoir Ridge gets supplied with water from the
American Water.
American Water, which is a feed through Montclair water system, because we don't have a water system up on that side. American Water needs hydrants. Well, actually, the residents in that area need hydrants. American Water will not lease the hydrants directly to the people. People there pay water to the township of Montclair. They pay American Water through the town of Montclair. But the residents cannot pay American Water directly for the hydrants. So what happens is they have to contract with us. The residents pay us the fee, and then we pay American Water for the hydrants in the Reservoir Ridge area, which is the development just north of, or just west of Montclair State. So that's what this $5,360 is, the rental fee for the hydrants in Reservoir Ridge, which we're just assisting the residents there because they are our residents, and there's no way of, a mechanism for them to pay New Jersey American directly. New Jersey water tax, the state of New Jersey takes a tax on everything, even the water you drink. North Jersey Water District purchase, that's our assessment. We get 1.2 million gallons per day from North Jersey. We're one of the original consortium members. I think there's 5 towns in Wanacue South. We're one of them. This is our prorated share, $478,000. That's what we get from North Jersey. Now, do we use more than 1.2 million gallons per day? Absolutely. On average, we do. So what happens is we have to take additional water from Passaic Valley. And that's the next line item. Passaic Valley Water, we contract, we can take up to another 1 million gallons per day above the 1.2 from North Jersey. At this point, we're probably not going to use that because that's anticipating the full build-out at the Hilltop. So Michael and I and Alex Palumbo use the average of 300 gallons per day per unit, how many units we anticipate going in by the end of this year, and we came up with another 0.35 million gallons per day. That's why you'll see that budget for Passaic Valley go from $222,213 to $365,895. If you look at last year's budget, that number was 0.2 million gallons. So we're estimating another 0.15 million gallons per day for the next phase of development here. But we're appropriating more money, but we expect to recoup that in revenue, in water fees.
Right.
So that's why you might look at it and say, wow, why are we going up like almost 50% here? Because that's the anticipation of the additional water usage on the units that are going in there. But there is an anticipation that the revenue is going to come up to more than cover that. As a matter of fact, we're going to make some dollars on that on top of that. So that's why that water purchases are going to go from $712,175 to $855,857. I hope I explained that clear enough.
Yeah.
That's probably the big increase in this particular budget. Conference and dues is going to stay the same at $3,285. Miscellaneous motor vehicles, that's for the vehicles that are in the water department, $4,000. Any miscellaneous repairs, tires and tubes. Maintenance and other equipment, cathodic protection, generator maintenance, meter calibration, SMS security for the monitoring system, and tank and pump station monitoring, $24,700. That's going to remain the same. Equipment rentals, that's a catch-all account in the event that they need to rent any equipment, $275. 290 account and the 291 account, fees for professionalized services. These are basically the Swift Reach annual. This is like the software and all the maintenance items that they do that does all the reporting, all the charts and data that they have down at the water department. Spatial Logic mobile iPad. Want to explain what that is?
That's just so when we're out in the field, we can view the maps instead of having the old paper maps, so, it's a big benefit.
Software support, that's the software that they use down there. New Jersey One Call, whenever they dig, we're required by law to call New Jersey One Call. They come out and do the markouts where gas and other utilities are. If you dig and you hit something and you don't call New Jersey One Call, very, very big fines, huge fines.
811, right?
That's it.
All the time. License operator fees, Michael happens to be our license operator for water, so he gets that fee. ESRI desktop, DEP operators permit, consumer confidence report. Every year, we're required to send out a consumer confidence report. People have to know what the content of their water is. In the mail, you receive it every year. I think every town and everywhere in the state of New
It's
Jersey
requirement.
is required to have one. That's why you see that nice glossy paper that we get in the mail. But, it's people's right to know what's in their drinking water. Also, Michael, just so we talked about last night, Sue Portaway from the Health Department was here and was explaining that they had one case of lead. And I explained that we basically don't have any lead
No.
lines in town. We went through all the records, in
No.
particular the schools, to make sure that there are no lead lines. The only case that we had was lead-based paint. I guess it was an old house.
Yeah.
But I highlight that all the time because we're on top of that.
And last summer, we tested and it was all negative, so
Mhm.
we're very good.
We're in good shape. I want people to have confidence in their water system here in Cedar Grove. Rust rover is basically, sometimes manganese gets in the water and it stains clothing. If that happens, residents can come to the water department. We give them a little loose rust rover. They put it in their washing machine with the manganese stained clothes, and hopefully everything gets cleaned. Uniform and clothing, again, that's contractual for uniform, safety shoes, winter jackets. Meal reimbursement, when the guys are out in the middle of the night and they gotta have dinner, that's where it gets paid out of, $1,000. Fuel and lubricants, again, $10,000 is what the appropriation is, same as last year. Miscellaneous supplies, $500. Utility truck, vehicle parts, $900. The big item here is the 361 account. These are all the hydrant replacement, valve fittings, hydrant parts, valve covers, so on and so forth. You'll see later on in the capital portion of this, water meters, $50,000. That's what we normally use. It's basically one full pallet, like for about
Yeah.
50,000. How many water meters you get in a pallet?
144 or so.
So, and then what happens is, that's what we normally use for our regular residents. Now that we have the Hilltop, we're gonna have to buy an additional pallet because the Hilltop will wipe us out and we'll have nothing for people outside of the Hilltop. So you'll see $50,000 allocated. We may be bumping that number up because Cavanian has accelerated the building process up there a lot faster than what they thought. So we're gonna need more water meters. But that'll come later on. I'll highlight that in the capital improvement section.
Mr. Tucci, on the-
Sure.
under the 361 account.
Right.
The hydrant replacement, so.
Yes.
So we have budgeted 20, for 2019, 12,000, we expended 25,000.
Mhm.
So a little bit more than double.
We
What, was there a reason?
We
for
did
that?
a lot more hydrant replacement this past year than we anticipated. As a matter of fact, we compensated another budget line item we stole, but we don't anticipate that moving forward next year. So that's why we held it at 12,000. Otherwise, if we anticipated we were gonna do the same amount, we would have bumped that.
Right, that's what I was gonna
That line item up also. But again, last year was a little bit extraordinary.
Right,
Building supplies and materials, sand and stone, the correlation between hydrant repair and sand and stone. When you're digging up hydrants, you backfill them with stone. If you go up on Greendale, in front of the Greendale pump station, you'll see, they replaced the hydrant there. Everything gets backfilled with stone because you put the dirt back in, it settles out, people have big humps. We go back and fix it 2 or 3 times. You fill it with stone, compacts 99%, and you're able to fix it right away with less complaints. Lawn and garden supplies around these pump stations, we have to maintain because people do live around them. So we maintain them so that they have a residential character and look to them. General hardware and tools, $1,850, that's the same. Not otherwise classified, that's the group dental, medical, disability, workman's comp, and pension for the employees in the water department. You'll see it went down slightly from $327,986 to $315,331. Again, the medical went down a little bit, and that's where it's affected, and sometimes we get classification changes of who's working in the department. That's where the big savings normally come in. So all total, this budget's going from $1,691,415 to $1,823,382. The major bump is the water purchase that we have to. Anybody have any questions of Michael as far as the water operation so far? If not, we're going to move on to page 100, which is the capital water utility outlay. Normally, we allocate $18,000 for water main repairs every year. That's just a catch-all account for all emergency call-outs. We also have our leak detection system, $15,000, which we put in the budget every year. Once a year, Michael has a company come in. They come in the middle of the night when everybody's sleeping, and what they do is they sound all the water mains in town. So at night, the theory is that nobody's using water. They have a stethoscope that they put on the valves, and if they hear water running where there should be none, that's how they detect if there's leakage. As a matter of fact, years ago, our water usage was way higher than the revenue we were bringing in. We couldn't, and normally the gap is 15% or less. You shouldn't have a gap between your revenue and what you're purchasing of more than 15%. We were almost at 40% at one point, and we couldn't figure out for the life of us what the problem was. Until finally, by accident, Michael happened to be walking by the reservoir. It was on a hot, dry day, and he hears the stream running like crazy. What happened was the water main, 12-inch water main, broke, and it looked like it was the stream running, and we were losing that water consistently. After we fixed that leak, that was the big gap that we found at that point. And since that time, we've had the leak detection program in place. They find a lot of the little leaks, and we keep that gap small. I talked about the water meter replacement, $50,000. You'll see the $50,000 allocation. I may beef that up another $50 only because we need to get the meters for the Cavnanian project. The other item there, we have insertion valves, $60,000, and distribution system upgrades, which Michael has planned for the year, another $75,000. You'll see there's money was requested for Lewis Road and Rutgers Avenue water main replacement. We still have almost $200,000 available from last year's budget. We're going to use that first before we go out and bond more money there. So that's basically water utility. Anybody have any questions before we move on to sewer? We would go over the sewer debt service, but Bill Homer beat that to death last night, so we're not going to handle that. All right, we're going to go to page 108, which is sewer maintenance, which is a rather small budget. We'll start with pump station preventive maintenance, $3,000. Remains the same. Sewer line TV inspections. Whenever there's a problem in the sewer line, and a lot of times if it's not clearly evident by the manholes, Michael hires a company to come in and TV the line. You find out whether it's roots, whether it's a crack in a line. I think recently on Monroe you had a collapse.
Yeah, sewer
Collapse.
Yep.
And, and this is the catch-all account that we use to identify what the problems are. Removal in the wet wells. After sludge is treated, there's grit in the wet wells, has to get sucked out. It gets sucked out, pumped into a truck, and gets sent down to Passaic Valley Sewage, where I'm a little bit affiliated with, so we have $15,000 appropriated for that account. Dyes for leak detection, $100. Clothing and uniform, it's the same line item in all the other accounts for the employees for the boots and gloves and uniforms, $1,915. Pipe repair materials, $1,300. Safety and equipment and gas masks, $1,100. Janitorial supplies, $1,000. Cutting tools, pumps and hoses, $1,605. This budget is going down from $211,560 to $202,167. The big change there is we hired a new employee who's starting at a much lower salary, so there's a breakage there. You'll see it at the top. The first employee you'll see last year, this employee, he gets split his salary between sewer maintenance and sewer operating. So you'll see, last year there was 27,443. That was half of what that former employee was making. This employee, the half is 17,296. In SOAR operating, you'll see the same thing repeat itself. So the breakage is where the savings is. Moving right along to SOAR operating, like I was telling you earlier, if you look down, 1, 2, 3, probably the fifth item there, there's that same employee, here's the second half of his salary. And again, there's breakage there, that's why the salary line item is a little bit less. 23010 account is a telephone account, $8,400, same as last year. Heat, power, and light, these are for the pump stations. Greendale Avenue, Montclair North End Pump Station, $163,200, the same appropriation as last year. Treatment plant water, this is water that they use. When the treatment plant uses water, it pays the water utility back, just like every resident does. This way is an accounting of how much water is being utilized in different places. Conference and dues, it's pretty self-explanatory. This is the treatment plant licensing, wastewater classes, continuing education, $3,800. Maintenance of vehicles, the SOAR truck 86 and the SOAR jet, it's the maintenance of that vehicle, $3,000. Generator maintenance, RBC maintenance program, and UV maintenance program. Just a little background. I'll let Michael explain what the RBCs are, rotating biological contactors, and the UV system is the ultraviolet system. Just give him a little background. I'm getting a little dry here.
There's a biological film that grows on these rotating discs that break down the wastewater. That's what takes the ammonia out and treats it so we can discharge it, safely to the river. So
When you ride past the SOAR plant, you see those little dome buildings in the back? Those are round discs. And what happens is there's basically bacteria
right.
that they plant on them. And the bacteria grows, and what it does is it eats all the sewage waste down to sludge. And that's what the RBCs are. They rotate into the SOAR matter, and the bacteria breaks down, and then we're left with a sludge. And then we have sludge trucks come in, they suck it out, and it goes down to Passaic Valley to be treated. That's the final byproduct of what we produce here. The UV system is where all the waste comes through, and then they have ultraviolet light banks that treat it, and it kills.
That kills all the bacteria. So that takes all the E. coli. It treats. We actually treat it where there's no E. coli leaving the plant. So we're better than what's in the river.
And I would invite you all to go down to the sewage treatment plant one day and let these gentlemen take you down to the back of the plant where the discharge is. After everything is treated in our plant, we have a discharge pipe. That is, the water coming out of there is cleaner than what is the water in the river. So what we're discharging is cleaner than the water in the river. And you'd say, well, how could you tell? Because that's where all the fish are. The fish always stay where the cleanest water is. They have fish feed that they throw there, and they throw that feed in there, and you see all the fish come to the top. You throw that fish feed anywhere else along the banks of the river, you don't see the fish coming up like that. But that's, wildlife tells you the truth about where the cleanliness is. But the cleanest part of the river is at the discharge of the sewage treatment plant. That says the plant's doing a good job.
Guess I'm taking my boys fishing there?
262 account, treatment plant repairs, $1,500. That's going to remain the same. The 290 account, consulting fees, when Michael needs a consultant on special projects, this is where it comes out of, $20,000. That was the appropriation last year. We spent a little more because we were in transitioning, because before Michael got his licenses, the gentleman we were using, he was there full-time. And then we weaned off of him, so this was the last year. He'll go back down to possibly within the $20,000 limit. Outside lab testing, which is required by DEP, $30,000. The permit fees, the state of New Jersey always takes their fee, $20,602. Lab certification, $1,000. Toxicity tests, $2,400. Backflow preventer, and then the license stipend for Michael for being the licensed SOAR operator besides being the water operator. All total, that line item is $77,202. And we get to one of the bigger line items, sludge removal. We talked about the RBCs and the sludge that's produced. Well, we have to get rid of that sludge. We have $240,000 appropriated. We spent a little bit more because we took a little bit more out at the end of the year, but we're going to keep it within the 240. We think that's very workable. Chemicals and gases, pretty self-explanatory, $68,000. Main item was the ferric chloride and the G-Pack that they use. Clothing and uniforms, the same line item that's in the other items as per the contract, $3,000. Fuel and lubricants, $7,400. Miscellaneous office supplies, $1,800, same as last year. Vehicle parts and accessories, $1,500. General parts and machineries, again, much like the water budget, these are all the items that they use on a more regular basis. Cooling parts, electrical parts, UV parts, digester parts, flow meters, hoses, so on and so forth. $34,500. Cinder block and your miscellaneous repairs, $2,000. Miscellaneous electrical repairs, $2,800. Running a sewer plant, a lot of times you get a lot of breaker failure and so on and so forth, $2,800. Janitorial supplies, believe it or not, sewer plant has to be kept very, very clean in order to, a lot of times, make your testing requirements. So, rags, wipes, $600. General hardware and tools, $800. Next item, again, group medical, group dental for the guys that work down there, workman's comp. Flood insurance, some of those buildings are required to have flood insurance. And pension costs, $510,835, down from $534,650. All total, this budget's going from $1,496,078 to $1,462,736. Again, through attrition, through identifying where you could save some money, this budget's going down. Sewer utility capital, again, kept it pretty lean. Emergency repairs, again, $37,500, because you never know what's going to happen anytime during the year. JCB backhoe was requested. We're going to get that, $140,000. Treatment plant engineering review. Michael would like to have an engineer come in and do a total review on the plant, just to give us an overview on maybe there's something we're not seeing that may potentially could fail, because you don't want your sewage treatment plant to fail. You'll create a big upset, beside the fact the state of New Jersey comes in with huge fines when you have upsets. And then we're also asking for a Ford F-550 dump truck, $75,000. So all total, the bonding for sewer capital will be $260,000. But if we add, no, that's a 260 here, that's all. Anybody have any questions of Michael as far as water and sewer? Again, I think we're in very good shape as far as our water and sewer utility. Fiscally, I think it's in very good, a strong position. We talked about the Kavnanian project. I think the water and sewer connection fees are going to boost up the revenue. We did that sewer connection thing. We're going to get about $560,000, which is going to be a big boost on the sewer side. So I think moving forward, we're in good shape. We're in good hands. We have nice, strong, young back, strong mind, and homegrown. So I think we're in good shape moving forward. The other thing is I want to thank all these gentlemen here, the Public Works Department, Engineering, Fleet Maintenance. Really, those are the gremlins when we're home sleeping at night and everything's getting done. We get up in the morning, there's no snow on the road, the leaves are off the street, you flush the toilet, everything goes down. You want to take a shower, you put the water on. When we used to have Student Government Day, I used to stand up here and I used to tell the students, I used to ask them a question: who's the most important people in the room? And we'd have all the department heads here, and kids would say, well, it's the mayor. And I used to tell them, nope. He used to say, it's the town manager. I used to tell them, nope. And they used to say, well, who is? And I used to tell them, see these guys back here? He said, because if you wake up in the morning and you can't take a shower or brush your teeth, then that'd be catastrophic. Or if you had to go to the bathroom and you flush the toilet, nothing worked. Or if you put the garbage out at night and you got up in the morning and the garbage was still there at the end of the day. So now I want you to tell me who's the most important person in the room. So I rest my case. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. No, our fire person is to handle. I don't know why.
Gentlemen?
Well,
Come on in.
Ready?
Let's go.
Hello, everybody.
You guys,
How we doing?
How are you?
Good to see you again.
I don't think these gentlemen need an introduction. I think they were here just the other night.
Chris, why do you?
Well, Chief, I want to say,
What?
because I didn't get to see you, and I wasn't here for your swearing, in, so congratulations.
Thank you.
And I apologize, from the bottom of my heart, couldn't make it.
Windburn.
Really
Are you there?
unavoidable conflict, couldn't even move it if I wanted.
No, that's good.
But
We
congratulations.
did a good job.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
took
yeah,
care
I
of it,
know,
don't
right,
worry.
yeah.
I think my words were, go slow.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I'm
And
fine
then,
with
and then
that.
she read off like a sentence and a half,
Right,
and
yeah.
I was like,
I'm not that good at that. I was trying really
no,
hard.
that was good. It was a good time, so again, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
You know, before we start, I like to say a few words about everybody, but this is truly the total cost savings to the township. Everyone here knows what a paid fire department would cost and what it would cost the taxpayers. And it would be astronomical. Our tax base would be totally, totally different. The Cedarburg Volunteer Fire Department saves the residents of this community so much money. Besides the fact that they save the community so much money, these guys are here 24/7. I ride past here at night, there's guys in front of the door. I wake up in the morning, I come by, there's guys here. They're either washing the truck, they're always doing something. They have fundraisers, whether it be the shredded program, whether it be a boot toss somewhere. But these are the most dedicated group of guys and save the town so much money, and without them, we'd be in big trouble. So before we start, thank you, and I'll thank you again after you leave.
no, thank you.
All right.
Again, like I said, just, thank you, yourself, the mayor and council. I mean, you guys have been great to us, and we appreciate, the partnership.
All right, we're going to start at the 220 account, the travel account, 2,500, it's on page 31. Just, I'll wait till you get there. Okay, so we have $2,500 appropriated, the same appropriation as last year. Printing and binding, this is the fire department prevention program, fire department stickers and forms, $1,600. Conference and dues, West Essex Chiefs Association, training for firefighter 1, firefighter 2, 2020 FDIC training, technical rescue, $21,000, same appropriation as last year. 261 computer maintenance, radio maintenance fees, CAD software, CAD mapping, and support, $16,200. It's down slightly from $16,600. 14 Cedar Street repairs, $3,000. That's what we put in there every year. Cedar Street's an old building, it always needs repairs. Rentals, truck house rentals. We used to give South End Fire Company $4,326 because we took over the building and we're paying for all the utilities now. Obviously, that's not going to happen. Obviously, they're not going to have the expenses that they had before, but they'll be self-sustaining by their whatever fundraising they do. They keep the agreement with the township is they are the sole occupants of the building, and hopefully they'll have a long-lasting future in that building. And the township made a commitment to Fire Company 3 in particular that, they will be the sole housing unit in that building for years to come until they no longer exist or the fire company no longer exists. We made that commitment to them, and I just want to put that on the record for you guys. That's what's going to happen.
Thank you very much.
North End Fire Company, they still get the truck house rental. There may be some negotiation in the future that they may want to turn that property over to the township, or we'll take over the expenses just like we do at South End, but we're going to talk about that with that fire company moving forward in the future. Because it's getting harder and harder for these gentlemen to sustain the building with revenues, so on and so forth. We want them to stick all their power and energies into firefighting. We don't want them to worry about revenue. So whatever they choose, and when they're ready, if they would like to come forward and talk to us, we'd be more than happy to entertain that. Fees for professionalized services, this was a resolution that we just did in December, which lays out what the stipends and everything that the fire department gets. You'll see that's why in the TCA account, you'll see a number in there where you don't see it anywhere else, $95,089. This governing body approved all those fees in December by resolution. Recruitment program, $299. Fireman's Memorial, $1,850. 310 account, Cascade refill foam, soap for turnout gear, and smoke machine chemicals, $3,900. That's up $900 over last year. And basically, it's in foam and chemicals. Also, as the governing body knows, we put all new masks and bottles for the entire fire department. This way, everybody, it's very important that a fireman has a mask that fits appropriately. Probably one of the most important
Yes.
functions. 330 account, 320 account clothing and uniform, $27,950, same appropriation as last year. Books and publications, $250, down slightly from last year was $500. Office supplies, $250, again, fire department reduced that number. 360 account, vehicle parts and accessories, $1,400, same as last year. Electrical communication supplies, $900, remains the same. Fire, other safety equipment and materials, $10,000, same appropriation as last year. Digital camera supplies, $300, that's a catch-all account. When they use it, they do, but you need it in the event that you do need it. General hardware and tools, $400. Supplemental fire replacement, $13,700. All total, again, volunteer fire department, always looking pretty austere. They reduced their budget from $208,941 to $204,615. It's the best money spent. If you had a paid fire department, you probably might get one or two guys.
That'd be the chief. And maybe a little bit of another firefighter.
You know, while they're here, why don't we go through the capital budget? This way we can explain to them, because they have a number of items in there. I already explained this, that
Right.
chief at our meeting that we have, but this way we can all understand where we're moving forward. The capital improvements, let's get to that page, 86. Okay, we'll kill two birds with one stone. Okay, I'm gonna go through other items, but I'll highlight yours, all right? We're gonna go through the whole capital improvement budget. Tax office computers. Everything down in the tax office is Windows 7. No longer supported. Everything needs to be upgraded, even the servers down there, $40,000. That's what the proposal, there's a proposal in the back of the book from the company that supports that. Computer hardware and software throughout the building. The clerk's office, the building department, tax office, two of the computers in the building department, they're all Windows 7. They need to be upgraded. So we have $25,000 appropriated for that. Curb and sidewalk replacement, this is a line item that's in the budget every year. We are responsible for the sidewalks where the trees lift the sidewalks. So we have a company come in every year, they cut the roots down, and make sure everything, so we don't have a liability in those areas, $12,000. Fire department tables and chairs. This is for the new fire department building in Company 3. We're buying them tables and chairs with the racks. They had requested the $10,000. We're appropriating that money this way they can supply it. If there's any events that they have upstairs in the rooms there, they'll have tables and chairs for that room. Roadway overlay, $150,000. That's for the roadways we're gonna do. That is in addition to $90,000 that we're adding, that you'll see later on in it. We're repaving the recycling center. We get a lot of complaints about the gravel down there, so on and so forth. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put concrete pads down for where the dumpsters are, the roll-offs, and then we're gonna pave so that people go into a smooth surface. I know, Councilman Tonella, you mentioned that to me a number of times, and then Frank DeRobertis, the guy down there, he complains to me, a lot of times when the trucks go in there, they move some of the stone out, we have divots, so we're just trying to clean it up. It'll be a lot cleaner for the residents here, and I think it'll work out real well.
Is that, Mr. Tucci, why, so I see the roadway overlay, last year we had 250?
Right.
so now we're down to 150, but the
But yeah,
remainder
90, we're
is
back up
pulled
to,
down to
we're
the
back
90
up to
below,
240.
zero.
And also, I just want to note that we had some savings in last year's overlay. I don't know how this happened, but we have like $60,000 left over that's going to go on top of that. So really, the roadway overlay budget, if you add everything together, is going to be $300,000 versus $250 last year. And that doesn't include our reconstruction projects, which Ozone Avenue, Myrtle Avenue, and a few others that will be paid with DOT grants. We also have, we talked about earlier, the tree replanting program, $40,000. I talked about in addition to the $22,000 we had appropriated. So there's that. Fire department safety equipment, these are the miscellaneous items, $8,000 in addition to the $10,000 for the chairs. Turf management equipment, this is for the turf management down at Community Park and the ancillary field around Panther Park. These are the natural herbicides that keep the weeds down. No chemicals added there. $10,000 for window replacement. You'll see as you go around this building, we're replacing basically 7 to 8 windows per year. And we're almost done. I think we have 10 or 12 left. This will be the next component of that. We don't do everything all at one time because just like your house, we can't afford to do everything. Can't change windows, doors, boiler, and roof all at one time. We do a little piece every year, and we get to where we need to go. Male and female locker room conversion. We talked a little bit about this last year. We had $71,000 appropriated last year. It came miserably under budget. When the architect came in, the numbers that they originally got from the contractor were totally off. So this will complete the upgrading of the lockers downstairs. It'll create a separate female locker from male locker room and showers downstairs in the police department.
Mr. Tucci,
Yes.
on that item, so I actually had a question mark next to that
Yes.
yesterday. So I see 2019, we had 77,000 allocated.
Right.
We expended 3,500, and that was the architect
Architect's
fees and
fees.
whatnot. But then I see 0 and 0 here on my book here for department required manager.
I have 90 and 90.
Yeah, I
Oh,
have 0 and 0.
Maybe.
You guys have 0 and 0?
You got 0 and 0? Yeah,
Yeah.
I put 90,000. You know what happened? At the time I did it, the police chief did not give me the estimates. I didn't have his,
Okay.
there's gonna be some changes too. When I go down, you're gonna see money added to police items, because when I did this, he still didn't have the numbers from the
Okay.
outside vendors.
So
But
that should be
It's
90,000,
90 and 90 on both of those items. Because what's happening is, they need another 75,000 for the construction, another 15,000 for construction management and modifications to the drawings from the original. So that's why it's 90.
Okay.
We got another 75,000 for community park playground. Remember, that came in, we bid it 3 times and we needed more money.
Is
But-
that part of the grant?
Yeah, we may
Right.
save this 75. If we get the grant, we can eliminate this.
Okay.
But we have that grant through the county that we may get that 75,000. Morgan's Farm roof replacement, 31,000 is not gonna be enough. When we got the historical contractor in versus the contractor that they got the estimate from, it's gonna be like $50,000. So that's why we need another 20. Alex already has the bid specs prepared. It's gonna be a wood shingle roof on Morgan's Farm. We're replacing the whole thing.
So I have another question mark here. So 31 was 2019.
Right.
We expended 0. Department required is 20.
Right.
And then, so the 31, you're gonna carry over?
It's gonna carry over. So it'll be the 31 from last year plus the 20 that we're gonna appropriate this year. And the estimate now is 50,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Building department data conversion. The building department is still operating under Windows 7. You need a special conversion for their specialized software. It's gonna cost us $10,500 to have UCARS, which is the state vendors, come in and convert it over to the new computers that we appropriated dollars for that are gonna go in there. It'll be Windows 10. Mack truck single axle, you'll see the road department asked for $190,000. I didn't put the appropriation in there because I want to see what the final number is. I don't want this number to be too large. If it's within our limit, I'll put the 190 back and buy the new truck. I think we could possibly skip 1 year because we bought a new truck last year and we bought a new truck the year before. If I could squeeze it in, I'm gonna put it in, but if it doesn't work, it'll be in next year's. So I didn't put it in right now, only because you'll see I added a couple more items for the police department that I alluded to earlier. So we'll come back to that. DPW roof replacement, $27,000. One of the buildings down there, the roof is leaking real bad, one of the smaller buildings. Police conversion equipment. We talked about purchasing 3 new police vehicles last night. I was explaining capital program versus, this is the new light bars because Ford has changed all the conversion equipment. As a matter of fact, the fire department's getting a new vehicle also, which is included in this conversion dollars for the light bars, because the old light bars won't fit on the new trucks because they're old technology. So that's what that $30,000 is. The next $90,000 is what I talked about, the $90,000 to repave the recycling center, which is going to couple up with the $150 overlay and the $60,000 that's left over. Tax map upgrades, I talked about that earlier, for the tax assessor and for the engineering department. We have to have an outside engineering firm upgrade all our tax maps. Bocce court retaining wall. We had appropriated $20,000 last year to do a bocce court. When we had an outside consultant come in who just does courts, the way the hill is configured, where the existing bocce courts are, it needs a small retaining wall to go in before we can put the bocce court to make it level. We're appropriating $17,000. The $20,000 will cover the construction cost for the court, and the lighting, but it won't cover the wall. So we're putting $17,000 to build the wall in, so we can build another bocce court down there. CATV studio equipment. Guys downstairs, I told you I would put it in the budget, and this is the upgrade. This is a total upgrade for all the cameras, all the new equipment. It will all interface, all be brand new. We'll be able to be on YouTube. We'll be able to go out live. Jim Signorini, Andrew and Tom downstairs, these guys volunteer. They deserve to have good equipment, and we talked about it, so we're putting $50,000 in as per their cost estimate, which is in the back of the capital improvement area. Police 911, I don't think you guys have this. It's a $180,000 upgrade. This is another area. That's why I reduced the 190 on the truck, because I want to see how the numbers work out before they need, 911 system has expired for Township of Verona. We did it jointly with Verona. Verona and Cedar Grove has a joint 911 system. The vendor no longer supports it. It expired, so we need a new 911 system. Right now, we're running without support, so that's $180,000 that's being appropriated here for that purpose.
Verona again?
We're doing that jointly with Verona. They're appropriating money, we're appropriating money, and the vendor is working with us to keep our old system up and running, at least till we're able to do this. That's why I was asking the governing body if we could do this bonding ordinance quickly, this way I can get this stuff moving.
Mr. Tucci, I
Yes.
have a quick question.
Yes.
The Mack truck single axle plow and spreader, so you, on my paper has 190,000.
Right.
Is that accurate, or is that?
That's an accurate
That's what
number.
you're gonna pull out?
No, right now, I changed it, where my line item is to zero. I don't know if yours is still zero?
No.
No, yeah.
Ours-
I
ours
changed
is
it
190, that's what I
after, that's,
So that should be zero.
that should be zero right now. But
Okay.
again, depending
That might come
upon
back in.
how the numbers work out, I may plug that back in, or I may leave it for next year.
Okay,
All right.
that's what I thought you said,
Yeah,
but then I
I
saw
did.
190.
But these are the few changes that I made, because the books went out already.
Yeah, of course.
All right?
Okay.
Also, town hall security cameras. Now that we're gonna be putting a new charging station outside, we wanna put, police department wants to put new cameras. We have cameras, some cameras out there. Their resolution is not real great. I talked to Chief Sarasa. We had SMS security in here. We're gonna upgrade half of the cameras this year, and we're gonna do the second half on the interior of this building. Right now, there's no cameras in the hallways here for safety, and we're gonna do that second piece next year. So we're gonna do them for downstairs for the police department and outside security, and it's a better fit for the police department also. They need to see what's happening outside the department when they're inside the department. So that's why we put $12,500 in for that. And the other thing is, police records management system, $97,000.
That's also not.
That's also not in there. See, these were the late additions, that's why I did a little juggling, $97,000. So all total, the bonding budget would be $952,000. That's where we are. And I'll give you new sheets. Without the truck. Now, just scrolling down just a little bit, just want to go over. We also have a CDBG grant for handicap ramps. We're going to be doing more handicap ramps. That's a $65,000 grant from Community Development, which is the county. We have NJDOT, we have a $402,000 grant to reconstruct Myrtle Avenue from the bottom all the way to the top. You'll know we did Winding Way last time. Or Winding Way, we did Sunrise. Yeah, Sunrise. I get confused all the time. As a matter of fact, we're doing Winding as road overlay. So we're gonna have Myrtle done, we have Sunrise done, and Winding's gonna be on our overlay program. So that whole area will all be done. And also, the electric car charging station, we expect that we're gonna get about $17,000 in grant. We have applications for $17,000 in grants. That includes a charging station for here, which will be used by the public also. One now for DPW, which we're buying an electric car. The electric car will be funded out of the recycling funds that we've been collecting dollars from. It doesn't need an appropriation. And also, we're going to be getting $4,000 toward the purchase of the electric car under the state energy bill that just went through. So we're going to get approximately $17,000 for all those energy improvements.
Never mind. Does the public have to pay a fee in order to charge their cars?
Well, that's something that's going to be determined by the governing body. Once we put that in there, we're going to come back to you and we're going to ask you how you want to structure this.
What do other municipalities do?
Well, right now,
They
they normally do is they give the first 2 hours for free.
Okay.
And what happens is a software program through a company, and what happens is you put your credit card in, the first 2 hours of charging is for free
In that particular town?
in that particular town, and then what happens is thereafter, you pay a fee of $2.50 an hour or $3 an hour, a fee, just enough to recoup your costs. You don't make a profit out of it
Is
because.
it free for residents only? So if I'm driving through, I live in New York, I'm coming through here to go down to the Jersey Shore.
It's how you, as the governing body,
Okay.
want to structure it.
Okay.
You could have it just residents get the first 2 hours free. You could have it, everybody gets the first 2 hours free. Some communities want to promote it that,
For green.
green for everybody, you know what I mean? But it depends on how you want to do it. But we're going to come back to you at that point when we get closer, because what'll happen as part of the package is a software program. And what'll happen is it'll be a plug-in where somebody plugs their credit card in, because if you're from Connecticut and you got a green car and you want to plug it in,
Yeah.
you'll stop here. But you should recoup enough dollars just to cover your costs. And that's all we're going to probably be looking for. But as far as the first 2 hours, that's a decision that the governing body will ultimately have to make. Whatever, as far as policy, whatever you want to go with, we're okay with. I think the fact that we're getting a green car and the charging station is a credit to the community and the governing body. And I think we're done. You guys have anything you would like to add? I just want to say that we are reaching out for John Cornelia. We're going to have a grand opening on the South End Firehouse. We're just going to coordinate a date. And, obviously, you guys are going to be a big part of it. We want to make sure everybody's there. And we're going to have a grand time.
Yeah.
And then we'll do the same when we get the new fire truck.
Beautiful. Yeah, we appreciate it. Looking forward to it. It's a good year.
And I want to thank you guys for everything that you do. I know we sit here every year, we talk about, geez, where would we be if we had a fully paid fire department? And we're so fortunate to have all of you volunteer your time. So I'm just going to repeat that from last year, but because I want to focus on something else. It's very rare that you get the opportunity to see your skills in action. And I was fortunate enough to see that firsthand. I just happened to be driving by on Union Street and I see all the trucks there. And, I just want to say the skill level that you all have the knowledge that you have, you walk me around the building, explaining every little thing, what, you know, putting a hole here meant for the draft coming up, and, you know, walking me through how they were, you know, sawing the top of the garage. The knowledge and the skill level that you all have, I was blown away. So I wanted to say that, in addition to everything we say every year, I really wanted to say that because it's a rare opportunity to see that in action. So thank you for all that you do, the volunteerism, and thank you for keeping the skill level at the highest that it is right now. So,
Thank you, Mayor.
thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, myself, the chiefs, the membership, again, you know, we're there for the township, and, you know, and we're just constantly training, because, you know, gotta be ready, you never know when.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the biggest thing too is you guys, you know, Mr. Tucci, the council, you know, get us the best equipment, and we represent the county, and we go all over the place for training, and we have the best equipment, no matter whether it's, you know, at my job or, you know, with the fire department, you know, it really means a lot, so all of the training that you guys can put together for us, you know, to give us the money, it's a big, big deal. So,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
guys.
Good job. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
okay.
Take care.
No, I asked them.
I fixed you this profile earlier this morning.
Well, you know, listen, you told me to remind you, I told you to remind you every day.
I said remind me when I'm in front of the computer.
All right.
She told me at the right time.
Take care.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Bye, guys.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Okay.
I texted later.
All right, we're gonna go, just real quickly, we have like 4 small budgets. We have ambulance and rescue, CATV, environmental committee, and open space committee. We're gonna go to page 43. The ambulance and rescue squad, we give them a $10,000 donation every year toward their expenses. That's gonna remain the same. CATV, let's see, where are we? Downtown, I found that, downtown advisories, page 48, yes, found it. Environmental Advisory Committee is on page 50. We allocate $700 for them every year. And then on page 51, the Historical Society, we allocate $2,500 donation to them every year. And then on page 52, the CATV committee, their budget is $9,950. That pays for their cable TV fees, their equipment purchases, and their media consultant, Jim Signorini. So those are very small budgets there. And that concludes our budget hearing for tonight. Mayor, if you just might, I know there's nobody in the audience, but just, I would open it up to the public. Anybody wants,
At this time, I'd like to open up our budget hearings.
just that we could say we open it up to the
Any
public
item on or off the
in accordance with the
agenda
open
or
public
budget?
meetings. Yeah.
Seeing none, I will close the portion of the meeting.
With that, we'll conclude the budget hearings for this year. Like I said, this is for appropriations only. There may be some minor changes like we talked about tonight under capital improvement. You know, there'll be some juggling. We'll see what the revenue comes in at, which I think is going to be very favorable at this point. And we'll strike a tax rate, which I think should be very favorable. And the governing body can take the direction that they would like to see it go in.
You know, I want to thank you, Mr. Tucci, for putting this all together. I think we all appreciate the level of detail and effort that goes into every single line item for every single department. You know, ranging from, you know, the paper that's used in the copy machine to the capital improvements and everything in between. It's not an easy task, but I can tell you, I think what you do every year, and what you've done for, you know, the past, you know, however many years it's been, 20 years or so?
30?
30 years, I'm a little bit short. I think.
You're splitting hairs.
30. But I think it makes, you have worked so hard to make Cedar Grove as attractive as it is. When we hear people that are coming into Cedar Grove, you know, there's a common comparison. You look at, hey, I'm looking at Cedar Grove and X town, I'm looking at Cedar Grove and Y town. And when you say, hey, look at our tax rate and look at what you pay, for this house, the same house in both towns. It makes Cedar Grove more attractive. It makes, it makes it a destination where people want to live. And it's all because of the hard work that you put in on every single one of the line items. I thank you, from the bottom of my heart for all of that, because that's actually what attracted me to Cedar Grove when I moved here. So thank you for putting in all of this hard work.
Well, all I could say is, nobody does anything alone. Everything is a team effort. I thank you for your full support, because without your support, these things cannot get done. I've been very lucky in 30 years. I've had all good governing bodies through the years, and that's continued right up to this one. But all I could say is, thank you for supporting the employees. You heard them say, you supply them with the good equipment, you give people the right tools to do the right job, and the job's going to get done. That's what's happening here in Cedar Grove, and hopefully we're going to work hard for the people every single year and give the best service at the best price.
Mayor, just one other follow-up, just to echo your comments. I want to thank you too, Mr. Tucci, and I also want to add to what the mayor said, also that the process, it's the transparency of the process. I see the books over there that you have for the public, and anybody can come here and look at all these numbers like the mayor said. Leaving here tonight, where can you, if you're a resident in town, where can you go to pick up a copy of that book, or if you want to go look at it, where are we leaving it for residents?
Actually, anybody could come to Town Hall, either the clerk's office or my secretary's office, the town manager's office. We will set you up in the conference room and leave you with the book, and you can go through it, photocopy, whatever you like. The book is a public document. It's put together for the public. That's why they're there. There's nothing different in those books than what the council has here. So the public is able to review it, scrutinize it, question it, and hopefully, they'll be satisfied with it.
Thank you again.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to add one thing as well. I've had the opportunity to sit on several governing bodies and handle various budgets. And the one thing that I take note here, obviously do a tremendous job with the budget, but just listening to the department heads and seeing how they fall in line with, I think, what your intent of the budget is, it keeps everything going, in order to get the final product, which you just talked about a few moments ago. It's important because I've seen situations where the department heads are coming in with budgets that just don't make any sense, and it's very difficult to work with that. I did not see that here this year, and clearly we didn't have it last year, and probably many years before that. So it's really a pleasure to see this process here in Cedar Grove, the way it works, and you have to give yourself credit, obviously, but the fact that the department heads are able to do that, to fall in line with your intent, says a lot for this town. So thank you again. To just echo my colleagues here, but
Thank
also
you.
just to give you my take on seeing some other budgets from other governing bodies and how that works, so.
Thank you for your comments.
And one other comment too, it doesn't go unnoticed that in a number of departments, the budgets actually went down this year. And there's always been a historically, it pretty much toe the line, or it maybe goes up a little bit, but here, you're seeing some really substantial decreases, which is, very telling, especially in these financial times when everything seems to be increasing.
Well, there's a honing down process here from initial submission to discussions to going back and getting, the estimates and working those numbers down, and then being where we need to be. We have guidelines that we would like to stay within. We know what our comfort zones are. We know what we can afford in our houses, and we know what the people can afford on the outside. You can only absorb so much. It's not an open checkbook. We understand there's a lot of people out there on fixed incomes. Not everybody is doing as well as everybody else. So we have to look out for everybody here, and that's what we try to do.
Councilman, to Councilman Messeri's point, I think the department heads know what your comfort level is, and they fall in line with that comfort level and your vision. So it's a credit to you. So
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank
Right,
you for
thank you.
your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sure, then the green bunch?
Yep.